The indictment of former President Trump. Attorney and professor emeritus at Harvard Law, Alan Dershowitz, is here with me right now. His latest book, Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law, is out right now. Alan, you and I have talked a lot about this. I know that you will say what you've said before on record, that you are a liberal, you wouldn't even vote for Trump. But you do have some serious questions about the legitimacy of some of these investigations. The former president just releasing a statement this morning to some of his supporters saying that our justice system is dead. He also inferred that the Biden administration appointing that DOJ, the DOJ that's targeting him, is, again, twisted, even if this is just perceived as a political hit job. Do you think it's enough to topple his campaign?
Well, I think it will help his campaign among Republicans. I think the biggest problem today is that we're seeing a new form of McCarthyism. There are tremendous pressures to prevent lawyers from defending Trump. I've received 2 phone calls in the last 14 hours from lawyers who were asked to defend Trump, 2 of the best lawyers in the country in Florida. And they have both declined to do so for fear of recriminations. There's a group out there, Project 65, which has threatened to disbar and discipline any lawyer who represents Donald Trump. And when I complained about them and offered to represent any lawyer who they went after free, they filed a bar complaint against me as well. And that's well known. And so Trump is having a lot of difficulty getting top-tier lawyers to represent him. That is a terrible, terrible stain on the Justice Department. And I do think that the targeting of Trump, the targeting of Trump's lawyers, will be a worse precedent than what one could have imagined, even from this case itself. Look, Trump got himself into a lot of trouble by some of the statements he made on tape to his lawyers, but that's no excuse for distorting the justice system, violating the 6th Amendment to the Constitution, right to counsel, violating other provisions of the Constitution. This is not good for America. And now we're seeing the Republicans seek recriminations. They're now going after Donald. They're now going after President Biden. And this election is going to turn on who's the worst criminal, the Democrats or the Republicans. That's not what the American public is entitled to.
Well, what do you say to people? Because it's interesting. All you have to do is use Google. I know it's not always a trusted source of information, and you'll find articles that are headlined with the Democrats doing whatever they can to keep former President Trump from running again, from getting into the White House again. You can see a number of different articles of Democrats saying, no, that's not true. This is all about the law, and this is about somebody being guilty. Even Cal Thomas, a very well-known columnist on the show earlier today, saying that the former president brought this on himself, though he does find problems with the justice system. What do you say to those who would look at this indictment and say, Alan, there's a lot of evidence here that shows that the former president is guilty?
They're right. They're right. There is a lot of evidence, and there's also a lot of evidence to show that the Justice Department improperly targeted him. There's no inconsistency between us saying both are wrong. I wrote a column yesterday in which I said, what if both Trump and the Justice Department are guilty? And there never should have been a special counsel appointed to investigate a particular person. You should have appointed a special counsel to investigate the problem of former officials dealing with classified information. That would have covered Clinton, it would have covered Biden, it would have covered Pence, it would have covered Sandy Berger, and it would have covered Trump. But when you say to a special counsel, we only want you to focus on one person, Donald Trump, we want you to look at him about classified information, the January 6th speech, what happened in Fulton County, that's not a proper use of special counsel. It's not a proper use of prosecutorial resources. So they can both be right. And the loser is the American public. So we're entitled to have a single standard of justice. And, it was really an incredible display of chutzpah when Jack Smith, who's a decent man, said we have one rule and everybody has to obey the same rule. What would he know about that? He was only supposed to go after one person, Donald Trump. He doesn't know whether the law is being equally applied because he has no idea whether or not the situation was as bad or worse with other former government officials. So he should not be lecturing us on equal justice when his job was only to get Trump.
You know, my producers are telling me we're out of time, but I have to get here because you bring up this wider, broad-reaching problem that we have. If you are right, then the American people suffer. Who holds the government accountable? Once we identify that there are flaws, that there is politicization or weaponization of the government, who's the one that changes that?
Well, normally it would be judges, but now already Democrats are attacking the judge who was appointed in this case because she rendered the correct decision earlier on, saying that when the government seizes lawyer-client material, it shouldn't be the government who peruses it and goes through it. It should be a special master. She was right about that. The 11th Circuit was wrong about that. And already they're criticizing her for one decision. So, you know, our system of checks and balances is not working, and we're in deep trouble.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.